Greetings, everyone. It's your cartoonist pal Stan here for another exciting episode of Random Encounters. Yeah, that's it, just Random Encounters. The show where I use random encounter tables like the kind you find in role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, and I use those to generate a who and a what, which creates a prompt for a cartoon that I will then draw while you sit back and enjoy. Or here's another thought. Let me just spitballing here. Here's another thought. Maybe you could grab a pen and paper, grab a notebook, or a sheet of post-it notes, or your favorite electronic drawing uh, uh, implement. Like I'm using an Apple iPad Pro, and I'm using the app Procreate. Neither of which are sponsored on this. I use those because I love them so much. I do most or all of my professional work on them, and I do this too. I guess this is now my professional work because I'm up here as your cartoonist pal. Hi, Torin. Hey, glad you could make it, man. And hi, Dale. And I'm presuming Cindy. Hello. Glad that everyone is here tonight. Yeah, so that's how it works. We randomly generate. Oh, what I was suggesting that maybe you would want to draw along with me. Now, I'm not saying that you need to draw the same things that I'm drawing. I'm randomly picking up a subject and then making a cartoon out of it. You can draw anything you like. The whole point of this, the reason I do this, is to help foster the idea that drawing's just a fun thing to do. There's nothing in this but the fun of it. And I know that I have fun. Oh, I mean, if Dale and City keep coming back, they must be having some kind of fun, even if it's only at my expense, and I'm okay with that if it's true. But maybe not. Maybe it's not. So yeah, that's what we're doing. That's where we're at. That's me babbling about it, and now it's time to go into our first drawing. So first thing I'm going to do here is look down at my iPad and make sure I've got everything set the way I want it to, and I will show you our encounter tables for the evening. That's what we're going to be rolling at. At several junctures, I may reach out and say, hey, what do you guys in the chat room think? And you're free to make suggestions. And if they spark with me, I'll draw those. Let's say this is all about the fun of it. And for me, the fun is this spontaneity, not knowing what I'm going to be drawing and just kind of diving into it. Tor says, according to Tech Bros and their cultists, drawing is not fun. It's a hardship to be bypassed. Yes, well, turns out that perhaps maybe Tech Bros don't know everything. And I know, Torin, that you love drawing too. Torin, for those who don't know, Torin Atkinson has a drawing show of his own that he live streams. Torin, if you want to, feel free to put links to that in the chat. He does, and he may do more than one. The one I'm thinking of is 20-minute monsters, which is kind of in a similar vein to this. Each episode, Torin will take a monster from one of the Dungeons and Dragons monster books and do a drawing of it in 20 minutes. And he creates some pretty awesome stuff. I highly recommend checking him out. Please, Torin, drop a link in the chat so folks can find it, because I think they should. Anyway, let's get on with this. We're going to go over to the dice roller, and we're going to roll it here. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3. So 5. 5 is our first who. And 1, 2, 3. 3. 3 is our first what. So let's head on back to those tables and see what that gets us. That is a roper real estate agent. Yeah. So roper is a D&D monster, which basically is a stalagmite It's a big. It looks like a a big hunk of stone coming up out of the ground, but um, it has tentacles and it can attack you. I think the last time I had a roper as a subject here, we had a roper having a snowball fight, which was kind of fun. Roper as a real estate agent, a little weirder because ropers don't get around so much. But let's see what we can do here. So Roper, as I say, I'm going to zoom in a bit, and we're just going to do some sketching here. Roper kind of looks like a stalagmite. Different people will draw it different ways. I like to literally make it look like a stalagmite with one big eye and a big toothy mouth, big fang-filled mouth, and then some tentacles like that. That's basically what a roper looks like. For our purposes, I think we're going to want the roper to have a little less of a mean look on his face. Take that out there, put the mouth back in a minute, and I'm going to have the roper's going to be talking to a family that's looking to buy, and the roper is going to have a jacket on because we know that uh, real estate agents are dressed snazzily. Probably make it gold. You know that kind of fits with oh, what's the name of that real estate company and the gold jackets? They've made a big deal about that for years. I was thinking that I would have this little, this, um, give them two tentacles, one on each side. This lower one down here won't do much of anything. I was thinking about having this one um, petting the family pet. I think it might be funnier if it had the family pet wrapped up in the tentacle. That might be funny. I may take that out. That's distracting a little from what's going on. All right, so we got a roper here. Let's zoom in a little and want the family to be here and have just a look of disbelief on their face. We'll make them elves. It's always nice to, you know what? Since it's underground, we'll probably make them drow even. And what would a drow have for a pet? Spider, obviously. That's a little less fun to have the roper scooping up. So let me think about that. I'm gonna take that off the table for the moment. But that's, I think, our basic setup. That's a little wide. I like to, since I work in this square format, I like to make it square-ish when I can. Right now, it's very rectangular. If I take out, whoops, it's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to hit erase. If I take out these, it's coming more into a square format. I can zoom out a bit and we have our family there. And then we just put the there we go. That's a good rough space. Let's go with that. Let's see what's going on here in the chat. Um, Mrs. Roper. That old TV jokes get me every time. I'm told that they're less funny to people who weren't alive when the TV show was on. Selling a dungeon. I think he's going to be selling a an hollowed out stalagmite next to his, and he's going to be saying something like, "Yeah, as it turns out, this is the neighborhood I live in." All right, so I've switched over to the lines layer, and I would say start with lines that you're confident in, because everything else builds around it. I do another podcast on Wednesdays, and that also is drawing related. And last night, while I was doing it, my guest was looking at what I was doing and looked at how I was doing this drawing, where I did one character's head and arms, and then immediately went into the next character's head and arms, and asked me if that's what I always do. And I had to say, no, what I always do is what I tell you folks here, that I find the lines that I'm most confident in, and I start with those, and then I fill in with the lines that are around them. So very often that'll be around the face, so it's not unusual for head and arms to be the first thing that I'm drawing. And if the two characters are interacting and their arms are intertwining in any way, then it becomes likely also that I would draw the other character's head and arms would be one of the next things I drew. So I suppose that it can look like the rule that I'm following is that you start with the head and arms, but it's really not it. The rule is, and again, I will do air quotes again, rule, is that I start with what I'm feeling most confident in, and I build around that, because then if I make a mistake, if I discover that I've made a mistake or things aren't working out the way I want, then I don't have to undo a whole lot of other things. If I've got something that I'm confident already on the board, unless I turn out to have been wrong in my confidence, it will stay. Like if that arm wasn't working out, I could take it out, but the rest of this roper would work out fine, would still stay the way it was. So yeah, I found that it was an interesting question. No one had ever asked me that, or no one had made that observation before. That I was starting with the head and hands. Why was that? And it just turned out in that instance that in that case the position, the head and the shoulder and the arm was forward, swinging the sword, and I was confident, and I really wanted that to be what was building the rest of the drawing around it. So that's how it went. All right, so let's come in here, and we're going to a drow is an elf, an underground elf. Those of you who don't know, uh, those of you who do will tell me how that is a wild simplification. Or may tell me that. All right. And let's go over here to the other adult. One of the things I've always found interesting, I'm a comic book fan and an X-Men fan. I always found it interesting that drawing drow women with spider tiaras, um, all my time copying John Byrne's drawings of Storm plays in heavily. That's my inspiration for the outfit that um, drow women will most often be wearing. And we're going to drow here. Don't need to be too very specific. They are not the main characters here. They just have to look. It's very often the case when you're drawing something that, uh, unless, particularly when you're drawing something for fun, you don't have to get something 100% right. You have to just get it so that it looks about right. That the people that are looking at it will just go along with you. There we go. Put his tentacles back here. And I guess, you know what? I'm going to leave out the kid and the dog. It's just more complications that I don't really need for this drawing. Uh, Again, I guess it falls into the range of if I was doing this as a finished piece for a cartoon I was trying to sell or an illustration, I probably would because I'd want to put in more details. But this is just a quick cartoon. And I don't mean just like I don't care, but just with that rule I just told you before. Just put what you need in there and don't go any further. Let's see if I close that up enough for it to fill. Yes, okay, good. So we're going to make that like the I should probably finish the sentence I'm saying, huh? Uh, the stalagmite next door. There we go. That's looking good. I think I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say, um, I think what I'm going to do here, here's what I'm going to get rid of this arm, and I'm going to have him pulling out a sign, a for sale sign. It's just come out of the ground. Let's grab this whole thing and move it up. Oh, You know what? I want to grab both layers. Move them together so that the sketch moves with it. Give me a little extra room at the bottom so I can zoom in here and have the hole that he just pulled that out of show. All right. And I'm going to have him saying, "You're going to love this place." As it turns out, I live in this Neneigh neighborhood too. There we go. We've got ourselves a basic line drawing of a Roper real estate agent. So let me turn off the blue sketch and look at this a little closer so I can see where I might want to add a couple of extra lines just to keep it clear and make sure that it's sending the signals I want it to. Oh. I didn't see I hadn't erased those. Okay. Yeah, that's looking good. I like that. I think that's looking good. So we'll, maybe put a couple of extra stalagmites in the background here. A couple of stalactites coming down from the ceiling. Like that. Look at that. And then we can very quickly, those changes kind of ate up a little bit of time, but that's all right. We'll very quickly add some color to this and then consider it done. So I'm going to change over to the colors layer, and I'm going to switch to my drawing, the gloaming brush that gives me that marker / crayonish look. And I think the color I'm going to start with is the golden jacket. Which just I don't know why, makes me laugh. That little detail makes me laugh. And when you're doing your own drawings, when you're doing stuff like this for fun, that is the most important thing. You find something that makes you laugh, go with it. I've seen that, Torrin, when you do your 20-minute monsters, you often throw in little in-jokes, things that, I guess you can probably count on a large percentage of your audience getting, but if they don't, it doesn't matter. It's just something that appeals to you that you find amusing. It's exactly what I encourage people who are not quite at Torin's level. Torin quite skilled. Um, it's just for the fun of it. There we go. I'm gonna use purple for the tongue. I very often will use purple for monsters' tongues. Use a darker purple for the eyes. And then we're going to come over here to our drow. Interestingly, also, we've talked about this before, there's a debate about what color drow's skin should be, whether it should be an ebony black or a charcoal black or a purplish. Different artists like to do it different ways. I am definitely someone who tends to go with the purple for drow skin. I think everyone's take on this really depends on what you grew up seeing, what appealed to you. I remember seeing a bunch of drow illustrations with that colorization, and they all really they work for me, and so that has become in my mind how I see the drow. What about you, Tarn? What's your how do you or Dave or Linnea uh, or Dale? And how do you guys feel about what color is best to use when coloring a drow's skin? And say it, as we all know, this is all fictional. It doesn't really matter. But it's people get some very very firm beliefs on that matter, and I've seen some rather heated debates on the subject. Uh, all right. So now what I want to do is find a color scheme that I can use for the background that isn't going to drown everything out. I want it to be a similar brown to the color of the roper, but not so dark that it draws the eye, draws the attention of the viewer. There we go, like that. And then I might go with a darker version of that. No. Let me find a different color. For the background. Or maybe I'm just going to leave it blank because that's a little too much going on there. All right, so we'll just leave it blank. We'll come back to that. Now again, the thing I'm thinking about here is that I want this drawing to be fun to look at. And while it makes a lot of sense that this background area, this negative space area, would be dark because it's underground, it should be the darkest thing in the room. But if I start putting colors in there, they're just going to fight with the other colors that are already on the screen and make it more difficult to see what's going on. So better, I think, just to leave it blank. And I'm going to add a little bit of shading here just to increase the feeling that this is three-dimensional. right. Oh, let's do something to the jacket too, and then we can call this good. All right. So I will come back here, go back to my lines layer and my inking brush, and put a little stand at the bottom. And I can say that we have ourselves a roper who is a real estate agent. Zoom in a little bit. You're going to love this place. As it turns out, I live in this neighborhood too. Because he is a roper and he doesn't move very much. Arr, 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 arr. There's another old TV show reference of a laugh. Okay. First drawing. Done. Let me take a sip of my little drink here and then see what's going on in the chat room. Let's see. Dungeon Castle reminds me of the Lego Star Wars. Terrifying Tales. Yes, okay, I can see that. It says Torn. Where one of the huts has a plan to renovate Darth Vader's castle as a theme park. Those games are so. Those are so. I'm presuming you're talking about the Lego Star Wars games. There may have been animated shows about it. I'm not familiar, but yeah, no, those are just brilliant. Do I ever add music? Not while I'm doing this because I don't have a lot of access to non-copyright music, and I have enough trouble recently with, for some reason, Facebook has been hitting me with strikes now and then, so I just leave it blank. When I do the process videos, I will sometimes add music to those, but only if I'm doing a process video that's more than 30 seconds. The 30-second ones I just kind of leave blank. I'm not sure that's the right call. Actually, I've been kind of going back and forth in my head about that recently, whether it's worth kind of investing in, or at least going to look for more copyright-free music that I can just slap in to make those 30-second videos just a little more engaging. But so far, no. Let's say I don't know that's the right call, but that's the call I've been making. David says you need for sale. So, David, you were right. I came to that on my own. If I hadn't, I'd have said, "Oh my God, Dave, you're right. Totally need a for sale sign." What are the advantages of Procreate over Photoshop? Procreate so Photoshop is made as a photo manipulation program that is good at being used for drawing. Procreate is an app that was made for drawing, so it just does some things. I find it a lot easier, a lot more intuitive. I was able to come to it, and one of the funny things is the when I got it, I figured I'd play around with it for a while before I tried to use it for any professional work. And I had an assignment, so I figured I'd do my sketching in Procreate and then take it over to Photoshop. But it was so natural and so easy that I wound up just right away doing my first assignments, using it for assignments straight away and learning it there. It's a really good drawing tool. There are things that Photoshop definitely does better, and a lot of those come in with effects and coloring effects, and some of the manipulation, again, because Photoshop was developed as a photo manipulation, so it's really good at doing that for drawings too. But I find that for the drawing process, that Procreate is a superior experience for me, and I know people who agree and disagree, so I don't press that too hard. Also, probably another good reason they're not paying me, because I don't press it that hard. Torrance says, I do feel the need to explain my in-jokes when I share my 20-minute monsters. Yeah, but I mean, that's the beauty of doing it here in video while people are watching. You can explain it. But the fact of the matter is that you finish it, and I'm sure that to some extent you think about this in the drawing, or I'm guessing you do. When you finish it, the finished drawing doesn't need your explanation. You don't have to be there for people to get it. And they don't need to have specific information. The drawing works. It's just better if you have the extra information. David says, I would think that they would, yeah, I would think that drow would be ghostly white because they live underground. You would think that. The fact that they are so dark skinned does seem, just from a natural history uh, uh, look at things, a real world science look at things, you wouldn't think it would develop that way. But in the D&D world, things that live underground tend to have dark skins. Torn says that drow I've drawn were black and white, so the answer is great. Perfect answer. Hello, Carrie, you've arrived just in time. Just in time for what, you ask? I'll tell you. It's just in time for us to move on to round 2. So I will close up round 1, turn on round 2, turn on the tables again, and we'll come back here. And it's time to move on to round 2. So we're going to go back to the dice and roll up a second drawing. Here we go. Once, twice, third time. And we got 4 is our who. And once, twice, third time, 2. 2 is our what. So let's come back to the tables and see what we get. So that's a Sahuagin in the moon landing. As a couple of people, well, last week when we were doing this, Dave pitched in with some ideas, and we didn't clear the board entirely, but we took a lot of things off the board last week. So there's a lot of new stuff this week on a lot of new options. So who again have only come up a couple of times. I've only put them on there a few times. They are underwater creatures, similar to creature from the Black Lagoon. Not really. They're an aquatic monster race from D&D. So we've got Sahuagin. So we've got underwater creatures at the moon landing, which is a pretty good tag. I've said this a few weeks ago. I find this is well. Let me jump back a bit. The question that I and most of the artists I know get asked most often is, where do you get your ideas from? And it's really kind of it's impossible to really say, because they come. Try and figure out where they come from is a difficult question. But doing games like this, doing just fun challenges where you pick random things and throw them together and just draw around with them and poke around with it. That's where ideas come from. This is very similar to what I do when I'm trying to think up a bunch of new single panel cartoons. I will do something very similar to this, where I just grab two things that don't naturally go together, and just start doodling them in my notebook and doing the things that look like the quick sketch part of this. And I'll quickly move from one to another, and then add in something else that's not appropriate, or is from if I went from real estate agent to, well, what if instead of a real estate agent, it's a carpenter who's building a home, and kind of let ideas cascade like that. And that's very often where ideas come from, is playing around with things that don't have you don't have to succeed at them. You're just doing it for fun. And Next thing you know, you've got an idea. You got something that hasn't existed before. Now, uh, and yeah, idea. Poof, idea. So, Sahuagin will look a little something like this. Right? They're underwater. Their hands and feet are all webbed. They they're lizard-like underwater creatures. So putting them on the moon landing is a little weird and fun. So let's take that off the board there. I suppose that the so the question is, we're going to have to draw a Sahuagin in an astronaut suit. Do that. And right now, what I'm trying to think of is what the Sahuagin can be saying. Because in the end, it's mostly going to be, it's going to be an astronaut suit with a Sahuagin in it. So the gag, the joke in here is going to be what the Sahuagin is saying, similar to what I'm thinking, similar to what Neil Armstrong said when he first landed. Small step for man. What would Sahuagin say? It's a small swim, and I think maybe we'll give him a trident because they tend to use those as weapons. And do you guys think about that? What can our Sahuagin be saying? And then I'm going to finish doing a sketch here. And then we're going to put the moon's surface and the Earth. Hanging in the sky in the background. Put craters like that. Already, it's looking like a moonscape to me. So, you know what I want to do here is I'm going to grab everything below the Earth and move it a little lower down so that the Earth's a little higher in the sky, and we have room to put a word balloon in there. I think I do, however, have to get rid of some of this because we need to put together a lunar lander that our Sahuagin has come from. I'm going to zoom in and do this a little smaller size and then blow it up. Wow, it actually turns out to be pretty close to what I want. Dave says it's probably saying Ia Ia Cthulhu Fatagan this, I mean, I suppose if we want to go from being a, a Sahuagin to being a deep one is a similar creature, but from the H.P. Lovecraft mythos. Or I guess you could look at that they came around first. So a Sahuagin is a D&D version of a deep one. One. I mean, basically the sketch I think is done. So I'll get to work on the lines on this, as we think about what it is we're going to have him say. And I'm not discounting the possibility that it will be some version of Iya Cthulhu Fhtagn. That has real potential. But let's put that aside now and see what else we might come up with. And I'm looking at the one small step for man. Quote. And trying to think of how we might adjust that for this situation. I suppose as we do this, this really very much is exactly how I would approach it if I was trying to make a saleable cartoon about this. So this is a good example of where ideas come from. One small we still, I guess, could use step. Because they're out of the water, and he's definitely taking steps here. Maybe it is just one small step for fish kind. One small step for fish. Ia Cthulhu Fhtagn. This definitely has. Like I say, I'm not discounting that. I'm trying to in my head work up something else to go with it. Something else, as I was kind of hinting at before. Very often, the key to doing something uh, new and interesting is to not go with the obvious first choice. Right? That one makes sense and it works. But is there something better that we can think of that would work as well or better and advance the joke? Show something that is not the first idea that comes along. I really like this drawing. I may here it's I was saying before that sometimes I'll draw something and I'll want to come back and do it again later in a more complete version. I like this Sahuagin in his spacesuit. I think I may have to find a reason to draw something else to take this to its next level, its more polished level. right, time to move over here and work on the landing craft. Sorry, I went quiet there. I was thinking that's a bad. It makes for bad television, but that's where the ideas come from. Sadly, I didn't get a great idea. Putting the ick in ichthyology, says Becky. Yes, yes, indeed. We got a Sahuagin on the moon, and we're trying to come up with what the Sahuagin would be saying here at the lander. And our best idea so far involves somehow working in Ia Ia Cthulhu Fhtagn into it. And as I said before, I'm not putting that down. Just in my heart, I want to come up with something different. Maybe it's because I've done the Ia Ia Cthulhu Fhtagn thing recently. Before I've done it before, and I've done it recently as a punchline for what would be said by a Cthulhuoid creature at a time like this. Go. Got the Earth standing in the sky. I don't know. Now we're at the point where now it's time. Now is the time to put some words on this. I'm gonna zoom that up a little so we look at it. I took the. Maybe we just don't put words in it. I don't know. I don't know why I'm. Again, I don't know why I'm so hesitant because it is a good idea. I think as I was just saying, it's about the fact that I've done it recently, and that's a me problem. You know, that's a me problem. Hello, Penny Firehorse. How are you? Welcome to the show. Welcome, my friend, to the show that never ends. Well, it ends. End in about half an hour. All right, you know what? I'm going to continue here. We'll go and do some coloring and see, again, trying to come up with what our Sahuagin astronaut might say here at the landing. And I swear, Dave, at this point, if I don't come up with something better, better, wrong adjective, but I don't come up with something that just makes me happier, I will we'll go with a Cthulhu Fhtagn something or other. Then the thing is, don't need a lot of color. It's kind of like you would expect the underground creatures to be. Spacesuits very often are very mostly white or light colors. I guess so you can so you don't get lost on the moon out in space. It's so dark out there. We better make sure that our suits are all white. Now here, we talked about putting shadows on it. These are more like reflections, more shiny spots. There we go. We'll go for kind of a golden trident there. I'm liking how this has turned out. I don't know if I'm just too fond of my own work, but say this is the kind of thing I could see myself taking the time to do a more finished version of later on. Mm. There we go, looking good. And then for the surface of the moon, of course, we know that it's mostly light gray. So we'll come in all that lunar dust. And come with a darker gray to add some highlights in there. And an even darker gray for inside that crater. Earth up in the sky. Go. And now it's time. The sea is pretty dry. Who wants trident? See, smaller any critter is shallower than any critter has ever gone. See? Come up with Ideas that we never would have got to before. Glub, 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 glub. It's funny. Glub, 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 glub. Shallower than any creature's ever gone before. I tell you what I'm most thinking right now is just not put it. Well, don't force it. I feel now I'm beginning to feel like I'm forcing it. Right? Nothing's really coming, and we've got some good ideas, but none of them are working great. Here's another thing you want to remember when you're doing creative stuff is if it's not working, make notes about what you've done, and then just let it be. I mean, there's no reason that you have to fill every space or um, uh, put a quote on every picture. Let's just leave it. I think you guys have given some really good answers, and I'm the problem. There's something about me that is just deciding that this is what we're up for today. And in the end, the drawing itself, I think, is funny on its own. Um, I have a feeling that somehow in the middle of the night I'm going to wake up with exactly the the line that I was thinking of, and if that's true, I'll write it down and I'll post it online. But in the end, I'm going to stop it here with the Sahuagin at the moon landing. Or maybe I'll come in and do your one of your suggestions, Dave, and I'll get over myself and I'll put it in. I don't know, but we're going to call that it for now. So there we go. Well done. Well, everyone out there, good job. Lots of great suggestions. Um, I'm the one being I'm the wet sock in this situation. Penny says, "Did you see my? I did see your neon octopus, and I saw the resemblance to that other one that I sent you the photo of." Penny does some really great uh, uh, neon drawings. I'm not quite sure how to describe them. Neon drawings of mostly aquatic creatures, and I found a photo of an octopus that was lit up. I mean, just kind of its natural camouflage in a way that looked like one of her drawings, and I sent it to her on her Facebook page, and she sent back that she'd already done one pretty much just like that. So good on you, Penny. All right, so let's clean this up here, get ready, and we'll do one more drawing and then wrap it up for the evening. Turn that off, turn that on, go to the sketch, turn on the things, and we get ready. Once again, I'm going to pause here so that I can put in a bookmark and people can fast forward to it. Ain't I clever? All right. All right, here we go. We got two drawings down, one more, and we're going to call it an evening. So let's head back to the dice, the electronic die roller, and see what we get for our third drawing. So we go once, twice, third time. 5, you know what, roll that didn't come out good. Once, twice, third time. 5 again, which is going to be a repeat. We had 5 before. And then once, twice, third time, 6 for our what? So it's wet cement. 5 was the roper. Wet cement. We could flip it and use a 6 for adventurers and 5 for hairstylist. Or we could do someone else with wet cement, someone else dealing with wet cement, some other creature. Doesn't have to be a D&D creature. It can be anything. Or, kind of throw it open to you folks in the chat room to pitch ideas, to quickly pitch some ideas, and I'll see what's out there and put something together, and that's what I'll draw. So the wet. I mean, I was when I put this list together, I thought, oh, for sure, I'm going to get something like Sahuagin and Wet Cement, and I did get both of them, just not together. Adventure hairstyles. The idea of getting your hair done for the dungeon is a funny one. So adventurer hairstylist is a definite possibility, Penny. Um, we could. I don't know. I don't know. So many choices. We have infinite choices. The world is our oyster, and I'm not. I'm not drawing an oyster. There's no oysters. Um, I mean, I suppose I could, but it's just gonna look. I don't know an oyster from a clam, so it's just gonna look like a clam. Um, all right. So, what say you, my friends? Any thoughts on what we might do for our final drawing that is or is not adventure hairstylists or something with wet cement? Batman, Star Trek? Batman on Star Trek. Oh, yeah, just because what I want to do is get sued by Paramount and Warner Brothers together. Let's see. Let me turn off the tables, and we'll come here to the sketch layer, and I'm gonna just start noodling around here. Um, um, now you got me thinking Batman, Star Trek. You're a bad, bad person, but I like you anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the ideas that we're gonna do a hairstylist, which means I'm gonna need someone in a chair. And someone behind them. Just kind of rough shapes now. I could have could be a adventurer hairstylist about to swing a big sword and say, "Now hold still." Or just an inch off the top, right? So yeah, you know what? This is already amusing me enough that I'm going with it. We're going with the adventurer hairstylist. And we're going to have someone with a big head of hair. Wearing a smock like that over them. And we're going to have our usual adventurer fighter guy. Probably with just a shirt, right? And for some reason, armor underneath. Dave says, reminds me of House 2. Oh, yeah, House 2. Don't worry about me. I have to make it back. My kid has a Little League game. It's, that's a funny movie. Certainly funnier than House 1. All right. Oh, yeah, this is looking good. Let's get in here with some lines and make this happen. All right, so I'm going to go to the lines section, right? Yes. Lines layer. And what's the line I'm most comfortable with? That I. And I put this in it first. I actually wound up thinking that this looks a little like it could be a version of Marge Simpson. The big hair like that. Certainly, it's not, because I don't want to get sued by Fox either. But and there's a cue to doing those kinds of things, is make it so that you can interpret it and say, yeah, that sure could be X or Y character. Yeah, that could be Star Trek. That could be Batman, but it's not. I suppose then I'm leading myself into a large conversation about parody and copyright, which I don't really want to have here. All right. And then, again, for each phase, I'm starting with the things that I'm most confident with. So with the adventurer hairstylist, it's that sleeve, weirdly enough. My original sketch, I don't know if you can see it there. The original sketch, he had a, he looked a little angrier. I had him drawn with the kind of furrowed brow that you get when you're attacking a monster, but he's not attacking a monster. He's cutting some hair, so it's a lot easier, a lot less threat to it. So he should be smiling. Go. gonna give it like a floral shirt. And then I may have used just a little too much room here. So I'm gonna grab these two layers and I'm gonna make them a little smaller and move them down just so I can put that line, that word balloon in. We'll say. Just an inch off the top, right? And yeah, there we go. Turn off the sketch layers now and see what we've got. Come back in and add some extra lines to finish it out. Really sell the line drawing aspect of this. I put some of those lines on the coloring layer, which I don't want to do. Oops. Go back in and put them in again. Just a little extra line work in there to help keep it clear what's going on. I think our customer's looking pretty good. Maybe could use a little extra tooth definition. It's looking pretty good. Yes, it's making me chuckle. Then I'm where I want to be. Great. Now we'll go to the color layer and we'll come back to our gloaming brush and we will go into going to play into that Marge Simpson thing and go with a bluish hair, though certainly I've made that more faux black than blue. I'm not going to give our person there a hair that big. Maybe we'll do that. Pink smock? I don't know. I don't know what colors. When guys go to the barbershop or hairstylist, it's usually just a black protective cape thing. I don't know why. I'm guessing it's more colorful at a women's hair boutique, but apparently that's what I'm guessing. Go. And then we'll come in for our venturer. With his usual colorations. Guess that's a good thing about having characters you do often. They have usual colorations. Apparently now is the time on the show where I just get a little quiet. Which is another thing that tells me that, yes, we're definitely coming up towards the end of the show. All right, so we're going to finish this, though. Looking good, looking good. Let's have a green shirt with maybe orange flowers on it. Yellowish, orangish. Like so. There we go. It's looking good. Yep, cracking myself up. I'm just going to take this and do as I sometimes do, drop the colors back a little, maybe just 5%, maybe 10. Even 10 is looking somewhere closer to 5%. Just pull it back a little, and I'm going to go back to my lines layer and stick my stand on there and say we've got it. We have an adventurer hairstylist. Touch the monkey. Touch the monkey. You know you want to touch my monkey. Hello, Adam. Thank you for dropping in. Good to see you, my friend. I've been watching your running videos that you've been doing, and I won't say feeling motivated myself, but getting closer to being motivated myself. Takes a lot to motivate me. All right, so we've got our we're going to go into the wrap up now. So I need to pause and do that. Give myself a break so I can put a bookmark in thing. Here we go. Ready? Shh, secret between us. All right, there we go. We've had a good evening. We've done 3 drawings as we usually do. We have here an adventurer, a hairstylist, and before that, we did a Sahuagin moon landing, and before that, we did a roper, a real estate agent. I don't know why real estate agent was not coming out of my mouth, but we knew what it was because we drew it earlier. A roper real estate agent. So we had 3, I think, pretty successful drawings this week, and we had a lot of fun. Hopefully, you have had some fun too. Hanging out here with Dave Lemon and Penny Firehose and Adam Takeoff was here just now, just showed up towards the end. Becky Mayer and Kerry and Torin and Dale and Cindy. We had a good group here tonight. I had a lot of fun. I hope that you watching at home had fun too. I hope all those people I named had fun. I'm guessing they would have dropped out if they didn't. And, fair enough. But yes, we had another good hour plus of doing improv cartooning. I hope that you at least are considering doing some drawing of your own while we're doing this. Maybe not the same things that I'm working on. Maybe your interpretation of them, or maybe just something else. Draw your cat that's sitting in the room with you, or just draw a teacup, or whatever comes to mind. Because what this show really is about is bringing home the fact that drawing is fun. And I certainly had fun tonight. Like I say, I hope you did too. If you're enjoying this, I'm going to now do what I usually do and come back to just me on the screen. Ain't I cute? And to say, if you want to see all of these drawings and more that I've done, you can visit me over on Instagram. Instagram.com/Stanex, STANNEX. Stanex is in fact my handle at most of the social media. If you go looking for me, that's usually where you'll find me, unless that name was not available. Everything I draw and post publicly winds up on my Instagram feed, so that's a great place to go and check it out. If you want to find out more and some behind the scenes stuff, you may want to consider dropping in on my Patreon, patreon.com/Stanex, where I send. You don't have to go to Instagram or hope that the algorithm will send you my art. Anything I do publicly, I send to your inbox if you're a member of my Patreon community. So you may want to consider that. And at higher levels, there are other rewards, such as stickers. Everyone loves stickers. I love sending stickers out, and other fun things. Earlier in the show, I mentioned the live stream that I do on Wednesday nights. It's called 50 Years in the Dungeon, and it has a free newsletter, which you can get to at 50yearsinthedungeon.substack.com. And I'm doing that to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Dungeons & Dragons. It's an interview show where I have guests from the gaming world. And while I'm interviewing them, I'm also drawing a cartoon homage to some piece of classic Dungeons & Dragons artwork. So you get an interview and you get artwork. And if you're a member of the newsletter, if you're a free subscriber to the newsletter, every month I do a drawing, and one of the subscribers will get sent a art print, a signed art print of one of the drawings that I produce in the show. And of course, there is also the option to become a paying subscriber, and paying subscribers get discounts if they want to buy the buy the prints. In fact, the prints are only for sale to subscribers. Free subscribers and up have the option to buy the prints. One will be given away to a random uh, subscriber, and people who subscribe in the paid version get a discount if they want to buy it, and people who are paid subscribers at the advanced payment, what advanced means more. Let's be honest. If you pay more, then each month I will send you for sure one print, and you also get a bigger discount if you want to buy more. So that's the fact behind all that. That's the facts, Jack. You can check it out. The details are there for the reading. 50 years in the dungeon.substack.com. Like I say, I know I just spent a bunch of time talking about the paid version. Go up and sign in for free. It would help me out. And like I say, what you'll get is stuff sent to your email showing you what we're doing on the show. And you'll automatically have a chance to win a free signed art print by me. All for being a member of a free newsletter. Can't beat that with a stick. So there you go. That's all I got for today. Thank you again for tuning in. It's been good hanging out with you. I look forward to doing it again next week. Wednesday for the 50 years in the dungeon, and Thursday for random encounters. Come on back, do some drawing with me, hang out, and we'll have some fun. Till then, take care, everyone. Bye.